good Monday morning to you, my dear friends. It's kind of cloudy one here on the Spice Isle, but hey, thank goodness we're alive, we're breathing, and we're thankful to Almighty God. Friends, today we're gonna, believe it or not, we're taking yet another look at issues pertaining to the CCJ. First of all, Grenada is about to take its first case to the CCJ. Yeah, you're going to hear an excerpt from an article which appeared in this past week's edition of the New Today. And then you will also be hearing an opinion piece, if you will, which was sent to me by Mr. Norris Mitchell. And then, today being Monday, you will be hearing this week's edition of the Caribbean Literature Quote of the Week. And then, you will be hearing the National Report, which was published on Friday evening. And then, she's back. Our good friend Beverley Sinclair is going to be with us this morning. So, let's get started. The first piece I want to do for you is an excerpt, not the entire story. Entire story is kind of long, but there's an excerpt which appeared in a story which appeared in this past week's edition of the New Today. It is captioned, "The Gilbert family approaches the CCJ for justice." Here goes. The Gilbert family of Springs in St. George is seeking justice through the original jurisdiction of the Caribbean Court of Justice for alleged unpleasant and hostile abuse meted out to them at the hands of police officers in Barbados during a visit to the island back in October, on the 11th of October actually, 2016. The case was electronically filed by the St. George's-based Siboney Law Chambers last Tuesday in what was Grenada's first case to the CCJ ahead of the highly anticipated November 6th referendum to adopt the appellate jurisdiction of the court. In what is believed to be the first case of its kind to be brought before the CCJ, the Gilbert family was forced to take legal action against the Royal Barbados Police Force following the embarrassing episode in which two sisters were detained for questioning in relation to the theft of a cellular phone belonging to a store owner mere hours before their flight back home. Providing insight into the circumstances that led to the family taking this course of action against the Barbados Police Force, lead attorney on the case and managing partner at Siboney Law Chambers, attorney-at-law Ruggles Ferguson, said that his clients were treated, quote, in a very hostile manner by the Bajan police and ultimately ordered to strip naked, stoop, and cough in the police station, unquote. In an interview with the New Today last Thursday, Ferguson recalled that after giving statements to Bajan law enforcement officers denying any knowledge about the cell phone, the police insisted that Tamika, one of the Gilbert sisters, change part of her statement, and she objected on the basis that it was her statement and she was not prepared to change it. Then, the Bajan police, told her to listen. If you're not changing it, then you would not be leaving here. According to Ferguson, the Gilbert family case challenges what he described as a breach in the right of all four members of the family to freedom of movement within Barbados. The lawyer who is anticipating a speedy hearing within the next 3 months, said that the Gilbert family applied for special leave to bring the matter to the CCJ because, quote, in the CCJ we can count on speed, and even if the CCJ doesn't agree with the point, then it can be taken elsewhere after. Okay? The former president of the local and OECS bar associations went on to say, if leave is granted, hopefully we would be able to do a hearing via video conference. So, I am saying the issue of access is what this court is all about. It's much easier to access that court than even our local courts. That, Pilgrims, is a portion of an article that was written in the New Today this past week, and it has to do with Grenada about to take her first challenge to the CCJ. Now, the other story that I have for you this morning is it's an opinion piece that was sent to me by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Norris Mitchell. He has been quite vocal, Norris, that is, about the CCJ and about a lot of other things in Grenada. It is captioned, "Is there a hidden CCJ agenda?" Let me read the story for you. I can understand CRAC, C-R-A-C, the local body spearheading a yes vote for the November 6, 2018 referendum in an effort to convince the uninformed Grenadian that by so doing we would break the bonds of colonialism and would complete the cycle of political independence from the British, who we consistently imitate, even within the hallowed walls of our new parliament. The average Grenadian who has his ears to the ground and his or her eyes wide open would realize that the above is a propaganda gimmick to deceive the unenlightened. The current deplorable situation with the courts in Grenada, unable to deliver local justice to the ordinary Grenadian because of the unhealthy and grossly inadequate buildings and facilities over the years, exposes the lie to the above proposition and requires that the situation be corrected forthwith in the democratic and human rights interest of the Grenadian people before joining the appellate court of the CCJ, which would be unable to rectify our present local judicial predicament. What, however, is very disturbing was the announcement on a recent television broadcast by the chairman of CRAC, Dr. Lawrence Joseph, that his organization intends to bring back for a second time the Prime Minister of Barbados and the retired CCJ President, Sir Dennis Byron, to do another series of CCJ indoctrination to ensure a yes vote on November 6th. It would appear that the Grenadian public is not convinced with the deliberate bias, lack of detailed information, and half-truths on the CCJ bills recently rushed through Parliament, while we are being solicited to buy cat and bag, to use a local parlance, which could prove to be politically deceptive with a hidden agenda reintroducing covertly a new form of colonialism through a complicated legal CARICOM structure not understood or explained to the public. This could disenfranchise the man on the street and surreptitiously make him or her a second-class citizen in our own country, while enhancing the privileges and authority of the political and legal operatives who are pressing for a yes vote. From the apparent public opposition to having a second referendum to accede to the appellate court of the CCJ in our present chaotic judicial environment, there must be a large degree of desperation to have to recall these two high-ranking and expensive surrogates to the rescue of the administration when considering a government that is hell-bent on obtaining a yes vote, but who routinely disrespects the laws and the Constitution of Grenada and refuses to comply with the judgments or rulings of the Supreme Court of the OECS. Let us be prudent and protect our national interest by not gambling with our sovereignty by voting no to the CCJ referendum, which could be revisited when the Grenada Bar Association is satisfied with the buildings and facilities provided in order to effectively dispense local justice and the necessary legislative changes that are required to the Representation of the People's Act, that's the voting mechanism, as recommended by the CARICOM and OAS visiting missions reports on the unusual conduct of the 2017 Grenada general election. That, my dear friends, is an opinion piece which appeared on the GrenadaBroadcast.com website this past week. It was written by Mr. Norris Mitchell. Okay, now let's take a quick look at Facebook. Hello, Chester. He's out there. He's always out there in Switzerland. Hey, Chester. Good morning. Good to see you. Kathleen Thomas. Kathleen Thomas is saying good morning. Kathleen, and so is Grenada Sunshine, who's out there in Brooklyn. So you guys are dotted around the world. Eh? Nice to see you. Okie doke, my dear friends. We're going to take a little break here right now, and we'll come on back with. Actually, why don't we just go straight to this week's edition of the Caribbean Literature Quote of the Week. Here is Dr. Keisha Lowe.
Brought to you by the Brooks Smith Lowe Institute, partner for Literacy, month of October 2018. This week's quote will be focused on the importance of reading. This quote was written by Joseph Addison and published in his British literary magazine, The Tatler, in 1789. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. As by the one, health is preserved, strengthened, and invigorated. By the other, virtue, which is the health of the mind, is kept alive, cherished, and confirmed. Further reading? The Reading Mind, A Cognitive Approach to Understanding How the Mind Reads by Daniel T. Willingham, 2017. The Reading Mind is a brilliant, beautifully crafted, and accessible exploration of arguably life's most important skill, reading. This book explains a fascinating journey from seeing letters, then words, sentences, and so on. Next book, Reading in the Brain, The New Science of How We Read by Stanislaus Dehaney. Then, Reading for Your Children, a book that tells you the importance of reading for your children by Eldwar Collin, 2017. And lastly, Give Your Child the World, Raising Globally Minded Kids, One Book at a Time by Jamie C. Martin, June 2006. With thanks for the kind support of George Grant and GrenadaBroadcast.com. We invite you to listen every week, find us online, share and spread the wealth and worth of our literature and authors, and visit the Grenada Community Library to borrow great books free of charge.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keisha Lowe. And of course, next Monday morning, you will have another edition of the Caribbean Literature Report. And right now, let's fire up our first batch of support from our business community.
So babe, Alberto and Beryl come and gone, right? So that means we still have Chris, Debbie, Florence, Michael, Patty, Sarah.
From the looks of it, Tony and Valerie might be coming as well. So we need to pick up some extra hurricane supplies.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and Food Fair Supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's is an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan. Get discounts when using credit and debit cards.
Grenada Market has now introduced the Prime products to online shoppers in the UK via amazon.co.uk. Zeberpick, Nutmeg, Wabande and Mobiback are now available, with more products being added gradually. These products are shipped across the UK and Europe free of charge for Amazon Prime members and backed by Amazon's reputable customer service. Avoid international shipping. Buy in your local area. Amazon.com in the USA, Amazon.ca in Canada, and Amazon.co.uk in UK and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
It's good to be early. It's good to be early. Pay your Grenada bill on time.
Persons insisting on entering a polling booth with cellular phone or cameras on election day can now be charged or imprisoned. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, October 5th, 2018, I am Rikisha St. Louis. A person who insists on going into a polling booth with his or her cellular phone or camera on election day can now find himself having to pay a fine of $500 or spend 6 months in prison. The lower house of Parliament passed the Representation of the People Amendment Bill on Friday, which states that no person shall have in his or her possession any electronic device upon entering a polling booth to cast their ballot on polling day. If the person inadvertently walks into the polling booth with any of these devices, he will be required to hand it over to the returning officer, who will then return it after he has cast his ballot. Leader of Government Business, Honorable Gudday Grenada, says the measure is to ensure transparency in the voting process.
Most countries and most political parties are banning the use of cell phones, any electronic system. People think it's only cell phones that go take pictures here. Yeah, we have not reached that stage there. Some pin here, some pin there. The mirror, maybe you're not, or the glasses, maybe you're not sophisticated as that as yet. See, my brother still is smiling. So you go in, the law doesn't say glasses. I don't believe that we could cover all area in a modern technological world. But the phones, so we're saying phones and we mention cameras, but there are many other things. But this is what will mainly happen. This is what people mainly use. So we now say, do not go to the polling division with a phone.
Minister Bowen says failure to follow this rule could land an offender on the other side of the law.
I'm sure that when the police tell you go out, or leave it outside, if you inadvertently walked in with it, then I don't think that he will charge you so much once you hasten to go back. But if you want to say, no, I'm going with it, then perhaps you will end up in serious trouble. There are fines for it, Mr. Speaker.
The Representation of the People Amendment Bill also makes provision for electoral candidates or nominees to do away with the practice of walking with cash on nomination day and simply walking with an official receipt following payment at the government treasury. The amendment states that every candidate or someone on his or her behalf shall, at the time of his or her nomination, provide to the returning officer an official receipt from the Treasury or Revenue Office evidencing payment by the candidate of the nomination deposit of $500 cash. Failing to do so means the nomination of the candidate will be deemed void. Leader of Government Business in the lower house, Honorable Gudday Grenada, says the decision was made after consultations with the Supervisor of Election and other political parties on the representation of the People's Amendment Act 2018.
This is now saying that you can go into the Treasury and pay it into the Treasury and not burden the man by collecting the money and going there. What you want, therefore, is to show on nomination day that you have a receipt. I think we only pay on nomination day. This will allow you to pay maybe a day before or a week before, and you walk with your receipt, and the returning officer, at that time the registration officer will inspect, and well, obviously you come with a receipt. I don't think anybody will try to forge a receipt, but it is within his purview to really see that the receipt is authentic, and then on nomination day, you bring that receipt.
According to Minister Bowen, the nomination fee has increased to $500, an increase of $200, a decision again made through consultations with political parties. Mentally challenged individuals still have an identity and a voice. That statement by Minister for Social Development, Housing and Community Empowerment, Honorable Delma Thomas. During a meeting of the lower house on Friday, a visibly emotional Minister Thomas addressed the recent circulation of videos of mentally challenged persons on social media. She says it is unfair and inhumane to be making a public spectacle of those who are clearly not in control of their actions.
The video has been transmitted to thousands of people. On the video, what appears to be the voice of two men taking pleasure in conducting the filming as well as making inappropriate, demeaning remarks. Thankfully, Mr. Speaker, the woman has been identified by the police and she has since been brought in for medical and treatment she deserves.
The month of October is designated Mental Health Awareness Month. However, society continues to fail these individuals. Minister Thomas charged the members of the public to be more responsible, more sensitive, and to be their neighbor's keeper.
We as a society must be more sensitive to people with mental illness. What was seen on the tape was not a girl, a woman or a sister deserving of ridicule, but of a fellow human being deserving of our help and intervention. At a time when she was most vulnerable, we as a society failed her. The young men who took the effort and the energy to frame her so that she could be the object of ridicule should have used the same energy to reach out to help her. For the scores of people who have distributed the video and who have taken pleasure in extending the scope of the ridicule should think deep within themselves.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The safety on our roads make this a major priority. Health of our people, a crucial necessity. Accidents happen when road users are either irresponsible or inconsiderate in one way or the other. Play your part. Reduce your speed. Be attentive. It is your personal responsibility. Let 2017 be the start of no more road fatality. Be safe, be seen, be smart. So let's wise up as a nation. Get to your destination safe.
Welcome back. Anglican High School students had an opportunity to engage with the Minister for Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs, Honorable Emmeline Pay, at the school this week, where the minister addressed several topics related to this year's Child Month theme, keeping all our children safe. Details from Annette Moore.
The minister spoke on child abuse and water, fire and internet safety, inclusive of children's rights and responsibilities.
One of the things that Grenada would have signed on to when it signed on to the Convention on the Rights of the Child is that of protection of our children.
Students enjoyed the interaction, answering questions and participating in the minister's presentation with youthful enthusiasm.
I think that one sounds familiar to you. So we know we cannot swim, but our friends can swim. And so we want to impress our friends and we decide we're going to try to do what we are not able to do.
Apart from dangers resulting from the unsafe use of beaches and other areas for swimming and water sports, the minister cautioned students to pay attention to their home environment and to assist in making smart choices that will keep everyone safe, noting the tragic loss of lives in recent fires for the year 2018.
But then I would ask myself a question, who is really supposed to be protecting our children? I heard three very interesting answers, and I'm going to repeat them this morning. Right? I heard parents, I heard God, I heard a very interesting one. We are supposed to be protecting ourselves.
Speaking on internet safety, the minister advised students to be vigilant in spotting cyber criminals, of the importance of using social media responsibly, and the impact of one's social media presence on future job and other opportunities.
You don't want to live two lives. You want to live one life that is an open book, that anytime somebody reads that book, they can smile.
And of course, new developments in the struggle against sexual abuse were mentioned.
I say to you, be bold, be brave, and speak out. Say that for me. Be bold, be brave, and speak out. In case you are thinking that there is nobody that you can speak to, because you don't trust that they are going to be doing something or saying something and you probably don't have the confidence in them, there is a new hotline. The number, and let me say it so everybody knows it after today. The number is 400.
Child Month activities continue with media appearances, Child Month marches, and more. Additional information can be obtained from the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Religious Affairs, and from the various educational institutions.
On behalf of the principal, teachers, and students of the Anglican High School, I would like to say thank you for taking the time off from your schedule to come here and speak with us on child protection.
For the National Report, I'm Annette Moore.
That story just ended the National Report for today, Friday, October 5th, 2018. Now to recap the top story. Persons insisting on entering a polling booth with cellular phone or cameras on election day can now be charged or imprisoned. On behalf of all those who made this newscast possible, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for viewing. Until Monday, have a safe weekend.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Grenada Market has now introduced the prime products to online shoppers in the UK via amazon.co.uk. Zebrapick, Nutmeg, Wabande and Mobiback are now available, with more products being added gradually. These products are shipped across the UK and Europe free of charge for Amazon Prime members and backed by Amazon's reputable customer service. Avoid international shipping. Buy in your local area. Amazon.com in the USA, Amazon.ca in Canada, and Amazon.co.uk in UK and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
When I own my own business, I'll make my own rules. Actually, all businesses have to follow rules. But I heard that Grenlec changes rates whenever it wants. Don't just listen to everything you hear. You should do your own research. When world fuel prices go up, you pay more. And when they go down, you pay less. So what about the non-fuel rate? Grenlec must apply to government before changing the non-fuel charge, and it has only increased by 3 cents over the last 22 years. How many things can you say that about? You mean, when rates are high, it's not Grenlec making more money? Now you're getting it. It's really the world fuel prices. Grenlec does not make any additional profit from higher fuel prices, and that's a fact. Think about it, son. There are laws and regulations that govern business. Nobody gets to do as they please. Not your business, and certainly not Grenlec.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
So, Beverley, good morning. Monday morning. I certainly hope you had a great weekend.
Good morning, George, and good morning to your absolutely wonderful listeners everywhere. It was quite an eventful weekend, I should say. Lots of activities.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
Are you going to let us in on it?
Nah.
One of those, eh?
One of those kind of weekends. Yeah.
So tell me, girl, you've been looking on at what's been happening. We're hearing there are a couple of things that are really, really dragging on. First of all, this issue with the Prime Minister and the nurses and doctors. I had a union and a doctor in here this morning. Nonetheless, too happy with what's going on. And then CCJ talk. Those seem to be the two big topics nowadays.
Yeah.
Which one have you been boring yourself with?
I have been paying attention to both, and the situation with the Prime Minister and the Health Minister and the healthcare workers, that one is really very unfortunate. Unfortunate in the sense that the PM chose to deal with it the way he did, because that kind of behavior in the health sector, and indeed in all the public sectors, not new. While he speaks, I am sure there is pilfering and dishonest behavior happening in other sectors. So it's very unfortunate that he chose to deal with it in that way to justify nurses leaving the sector and why it is understaffed. One, it's just not a justification.
Just let me interrupt you here for a minute, because I had the president of the Trades Union Council in here yesterday, and I was very pleased to hear her admit that she didn't say, yes, we tiffin in the hospital, okay? But she admits that type of thing does happen. And I think it took a lot of gall in local parlance, to come out and admit that.
Okay. Yep. And it is something which has not been out in the public before, obviously, until the Prime Minister brought it out in this way. But it was just an inappropriate way to bring it out. But it's a matter that absolutely needs to be dealt with.
Like I said to her, my mother always taught me, it's not what you do, but how
you do it. He needs to pull up on his ministers who take their private vehicles and go and fill up with free gas just because they can, because they're ministers. The gas that the taxpayers are paying for ministers is not for your private cars. It's for any public government vehicle that has to go and do some work. If you have work to do and you don't want to use the government vehicle to do it, and you feel like you want to use your own car, good for you. Put your own gas in it and go and do it. And I believe the people who are dispensing the petrol at these pumps need to stick to the list that they have, and when these ministers come there, tell them no. But everybody is afraid of victimization and afraid of being moved and afraid of losing their job and afraid of this kind of bread and butter politics that goes on. So once a minister pull up and tell them fill up, they fill up. That is one of the things that need to stop. So it's not just in the health sector, and it's not just the people at the bottom, as we would say. It starts from the Prime Minister office all the way through, and everybody needs to be dealt with. So you can't go in New York and ball out the healthcare workers and don't talk about everybody else as if all the other ministries, all the other workers in all the other ministries have halo around their heads and angel dust at their feet. No, not so, Mr. Prime Minister. You absolutely need to deal with it. You are the head of the public sector. So go and get your work done, and don't try to use that kind of behavior in the healthcare sector as an excuse for all the incompetence on your part which has led to this happening in the first place. Because if this has been happening for years, and I have no doubt that it has been, if this has been happening for years, why haven't systems been put in place to deal with it? It's not rocket science. Absolutely not rocket science.
And you talk about incompetence, and this is something we discussed yesterday as well. It is so ironic that while the Prime Minister is describing our nurses and doctors as incompetent, we have nurses being sought after by other countries. I mean, I saw it described as, quote, a mass exodus a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, because the figure I heard was somewhere in the region of about 80 that have left, and many of them will find permanent employment elsewhere and will not be back to work in the system here. And that is unfortunate that our people, after being trained here, have to leave and go because, you know, what they want on a personal level, they just can't get it within the sector here. So there are many challenges, there are many issues to be dealt with. Thieving, incompetence, those are only two, and those are not the only two. So the PM needs to get his team together, get his act together, get to the crux of the matter, and try to begin to sort out the issues, and don't go shaming people in that way. They may be guilty. Yes, we know there are those who are, but that's not the way to deal with it, but it needs to be dealt with. Absolutely so. And
go ahead.
The other area of dishonesty, of course, is with this whole Yes campaign for the CCJ, which, of course, I am paying a lot of attention to. The amount of arguments that have come out of that advisory committee, which have just been twisted and which are just, some of them just plain out, flat out not true, but they are being sold to people, George, to get people to vote yes. And you want to tell me, it just reminds me of what went on in the US the other day with this nomination for the Supreme Court. You want to get somebody in the Supreme Court and you get them there regardless. You want to get people to vote yes for the CCJ, and you want people to vote yes regardless. The CCJ may be inevitable, you know, whether in this generation or the one to come. It's a natural progression in history. But don't sit down and tell people things that are not true to get them to go out and vote yes, because you want to feel like you accomplished something if you get a yes vote, and you don't care how you get the yes vote, you just want to get it.
By any means
necessary.
necessary.
By any means necessary? By any dishonest means? No. No. I take serious issue with that. I believe you're insulting my intelligence when you sit down there and talk about how the CCJ is going to fix all of the problems in the lower courts when you know it's not true. When you talk about how the CCJ is such a regional court and the judges will be familiar with our culture and our existence, and if that is true, you're telling me that the appointment of judges will not be fair because the applications are open to judges from all over the world. So what you're saying is that once the RJLSC sees an application from someone who is not Caribbean, they don't even bother to look at the qualifications, they just put it in file 13 because our judges are supposed to know our culture and they are supposed to be from among us. Stop the nonsense. Just stop it and level with people. First thing you need to do is tell people what is your agenda. CCJ Advisory Committee, what is your agenda? Why are you pushing so hard? And
that's a big question. Why are you pushing so hard?
And right on the heels of that, you need to tell us what is the political agenda. Because we see the Prime Minister of Grenada and we see the Prime Minister of Antigua deeply involved in this campaign.
Did you hear that the Prime Minister of Barbados may be back here?
I did not hear that as yet, George, but I would not be surprised.
And former President Dennis Byron?
He's coming back as well.
Yeah.
So this thing has become such a political campaign, and then you want to tell us, oh, there is no political involvement in the court. Get real. You come out of the water quacking like a duck and want to tell me you're not a duck?
Quack, quack.
No, this kind of talking to people as if people have no sense. The days when people didn't read are over. We see this case that has come up in the CCJ now with the Council for Legal Education, where the young man, Jason Jones, I think his name is challenging the system of entry into the law school at UWI, where non-UWI students are forced to sit an exam or are required to sit an exam to get into the UWI law school, whereas UWI students do not have to sit this exam. Because doing law is not just a simple thing where you go to a university and you do law and get out. You have to do your studies, pass some exams, and then you get into the law school and finish up. It's probably not as parochial as that, but in a nutshell, that's how it works. So students who study law at UWI automatically get into the law school. Those who don't have to sit an exam to get into the law school. And from what I understand, they have very limited spaces for non-UWI students. So even if all the non-UWI students pass that exam, they still don't have space for all of them. So this young man is challenging that there should be an equitable system, because we're all CARICOM nationals, all Caribbean nationals, so everyone should have the same chance of getting into the law school. Now, the short of that story, George, is that the case is before the CCJ. The CCJ has reserved judgment in the matter. But what I find interesting is that the jurisdiction of the CCJ to hear the case has been challenged. Because while the case was filed under the original jurisdiction, the challenge is that the Council for Legal Education is not a CARICOM institution, even though it is operated and managed by CARICOM members, but it's not a CARICOM institution. So the CCJ may not have jurisdiction to hear the case. And the second thing is, while the case is before the CCJ, the Council for Legal Education and the CCJ is supposed to be signing a memorandum of understanding to make the president of the CCJ a part of the CLE. So issues like these need to be cleared up before people can go ahead and feel confident that the CCJ is going to be the type of court that we really need. If and when the president becomes a part of the CLE, how does the court deal with that matter? And he is one of the judges who is now sitting on this case, even though he knows that this MOU is in the making to make him a part of the CLE. Why didn't he recuse himself from the case?
And have you heard the latest twist to the CCJ? Do you remember not too long ago, I think it might have been last year, a couple of young ladies from Grenada were harassed in Barbados and strip searched and all of that? Well, yes. I understand that one's going to the CCJ.
Yes, I am very familiar with that case, because it's one of those cases I've been following as well. And that one, now that is a different scenario, because that directly has to do with freedom of movement within CARICOM. You're not supposed to leave from one CARICOM country, go to another one, and find yourself subjected to this kind of harassment that this family went through. Absolutely not. Strip search and held in police station and questioned, and that trauma.
Made to lie.
Drama. Made to lie, forced to lie, just so you can go and catch your flight to leave? No. That kind of behavior is totally unacceptable, and it speaks directly to freedom of movement within CARICOM. Because we talk about breaking the shackles of colonialism, George. We're still not at the stage yet where we treat our own black people the way we treat white people. Yeah. We still bow and scrape in front of white people and treat our black people like they're something less. And those are the shackles that we need to break. You know, moving from the Privy Council to the CCJ not going to help us to break those shackles. As a matter of fact, we may be moving into a new form of colonialism if we're not careful what we're doing with these CCJ. So, George, the problems are glaring. The problems are there. Many issues have been raised, and especially with this bill that Grenada is supposed to be voting on, there are things in the bill that are just not... The bill is flawed. And these are the issues that we need to address instead of going around and tell people, just go and vote yes. That's not the way to go about it. I am sorry. Not the way to go about it at all.
Well, who knows? Maybe in November of next year or 2 years down the road, we'll have a third referendum. Huh?
What is happening, George, is a constitutional change, you know.
Yeah.
And we do not hear any arguments that we are changing the Constitution.
No.
The advisory committee is trying to make it sound as simple as, oh, we're just taking out the Privy Council and putting in the CCJ. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's going to impact on the Constitution, and that needs to be explained to people. So, come on, advisory committee, do better than that.
Okie dokie, Bev. And we shall see thee on Thursday evening.
God's willing.
For the next edition of Make We Chat. Thanks a lot, my friend.
You are most welcome, George. Have a great day, and all your listeners everywhere, have a wonderful day as well.
Take it easy.
Alrighty, so there you have it. Now, obviously, Bev was not in here with me this morning, okay? We had to actually pre-record that yesterday afternoon. Thank you very much, Bev. I do appreciate your time and your contributions. Now, folks, we're going to take one more little break here. And after that, we will have some words of inspiration for you. You know, it's one thing to look at all the crazy stuff that's happening in the country on a daily basis, but we also try to provide some content which is it provides some encouragement, some hope. So just hang in there for a wee bit, and we'll get to that right after this.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Grenada Market has now introduced the Prime products to online shoppers in the UK via amazon.co.uk. Zebrapick, Nutmed, Wabande, and Mobiback are now available, with more products being added gradually. These products are shipped across the UK and Europe free of charge for Amazon Prime members and backed by Amazon's reputable customer service. Avoid international shipping. Buy in your local area. Amazon.com in the USA, Amazon.ca in Canada, and Amazon.co.uk in UK and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Hi, I'm Gloria. My family and I travel all around the world, lighting up homes and businesses just like yours. And lately, we've been hearing a lot of talk about electricity.
Yes. Are my rates the highest in the world?
Your rate is definitely not the highest. Grenadians are paying a similar rate to some islands in the Caribbean, and in some cases, even less.
Grenelec, energizing our Grenada.
Okie dokie, okie dokie. 5 minutes before 10 o'clock. Now, just before I leave you this morning, I want to leave you with some thoughts, which I hope you'll carry close to your heart throughout the course of this day, and in short, will be a blessing to you. Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. Yeah. This will be the blessing for the man who fears the Lord. Huh? Thank you, my dear friends, for joining us. Get the word out. And by the way, in the last few minutes or so, we were joined by Fitzroy Adams. He is watching in New York. Good morning, Mr. Adams. Thank you for joining us. Call your friends. Tell them join us weekday mornings at 9 o'clock right here. And I see the Ryan, you're kind of late. Oh, by the way, Ryan, yesterday morning on Sundays with George Grant, I had mentioned that the art piece, as far as I knew, they were leaving on yesterday. I had received some information from the GIS that they would be here from the 4th until the 7th, which was yesterday. Well, believe it or not, just a few minutes ago, I took a look outside, and the art piece still sitting there. Maybe they have a little bit of time to relax after all the work they've been doing here, taking care of Grenadian people in need of medical attention. And so they're just taking a little break, a little pause. I don't know. One way or the other, thank you so much for coming to our assistance. Certainly do appreciate it. And on that note, Georgie Porgy is going to scoot. Thank you, my dear friends, and as always, I send God's blessings to you. We'll see you tomorrow, by his grace.